Hi, Joyce and Susan. Thanks for being here. Hi, Kathy Deal. Nice to have you. What's new? Celebration is in full swing. I'm having a good month. It was a little slow to start, but the month is ending up quite nicely. I'm heading for having one of my best months ever. So that's pretty awesome. I've added 7 people to my Merry Stampers team. And hopefully my teammates are out there recruiting and offering the starter kit opportunity as well. If you're interested, I would love to have you be on my Merry Stampers team, and I would love the opportunity to discuss that with you more. If you love free products, Celebration is a great time, not only for you to shop, but to host a party as well. And we can do that virtually. I've had some people do that through a private Facebook group and has been very successful for them. Or if you have a small group with some social distancing, I'm willing to meet in person that way, but virtually can work very well for Stampin' Up! Parties. I think that's pretty much the news. Does anybody have any questions about anything in particular? I've got a fun project to show you tonight. I'm using some of the same products that I used last week from the Friends Are Like Seashells bundle, as well as the Sand and Sea Designer Series paper. And a couple of things I'm going to show you with this is my cards I made last week with the pearlescent paper and the Friends Are Like Seashells bundle. The cards were very monochromatic. So I'm going to show you a project today with more color, and then a couple of different ways you can color those seashells as well. And of course, this would apply to other stamp sets and bundles you may have as well. So let me flip my camera around and we'll get started right away. What's your first thought when you see that paper there? I've got 2 different prints from the Sand and Sea Designer Series paper pack, and then I've got some Seaside Spray cardstock. What's your first thought? Hi, Melissa. Thanks for joining in. Mary Lou, thank you for sharing. Hi, Sally. Clouds and beach, the ocean. Yes. Anybody make it think of sunshine and warmer days? It was a very gray day here in Ohio today. You know, the kind where if I was sitting doing my computer work, I went upstairs and flipped on the fireplace and sat there for a bit. But anyways, so we're doing a project that will kind of help us think warm thoughts on this cold gray day. And I know there are parts of the country that are getting snow that aren't used to getting, or at least not used to seeing much snow. So that's kind of an interesting twist. But anyways, we will also be using the Friends Are Like Seashells bundle with this fabulous stamp set and the large die again today. Now there are other dies in here. I guess I've kind of been ignoring those for the sand dollar, the starfish, and some of the, what I don't want to say weeds, but sea plants. I'll say sea plants. Okay. So I went ahead, I'm going to make, I guess it could be like a framed piece of home decor, but it can also be a 2-page scrapbook layout. So that's what we're going to be making first. So before we get to work putting that together, we need to do some other work here first. And I need a scrap paper. Okay, sorry, that's the one thing I forgot to grab is some scrap paper, because I will be using blending brushes on one of these. So last week I showed you some simple and elegant cards with the pearlescent paper and the Sand and Sea product suite. So this is just using the seashell embossing folder. You can see it has great detail in it. Then on the second card with this, after I embossed the pearlescent paper, I die cut it. The next one, I did a little bit differently in that I die cut everything. I said that wrong. Die cut, and then I put it through the embossing folder. Okay, but there's no stamping, no ink on that. This one, I did the die cutting, and then I took the individual stamps from that Friends Are Like Seashells stamp set and stamped the 5 different shells on here. After I dried that with a heat tool, then I put it through the embossing folder, just matching up this die cut piece. But it's the pearlescent paper, and then I've used the Sahara sand foil sheets. Now on this one, when I stamped the shells, I stamped off onto scrap paper first, and then onto the pearlescent paper for a lighter tone. Here I did the same card, only I did not stamp off. I stamped the shells in full strength ink. So you can see the difference there. They're both beautiful, just a little bit more subtle, a little bit more obvious with the color. So, and this time we're going to use some other colors, not make everything monochromatic. And I just looked at the back of the package of the DSP, and it has all of these colors in the DSP. Blushing Bride, Flirty Flamingo, Melon Mambo, Sahara Sand, Seaside Spray, and So Saffron. So I'm going to stamp some of the shells in these different colors. I need to scoot the screen a little bit here. Okay. So I'm going to start by, I think I'll start with, the Blushing Bride. And I'm just going to take one of the seashells. And I want mine, I don't know if I want it full strength. Let me just tap a little on the back and see. That's what it would be like, full strength, which would be okay. Or I could stamp it off first, which is what I think I'm going to do. It's just a matter of personal preference. Can you see the color on there? That's the Blushing Bride. I think I will stamp another in the Seaside Spray. And again, I'm just going to stamp off. I'm getting some real subtle colors. If you want to see more color, by all means, just stamp full strength. In fact, I could go over this just to show you the difference. Maybe you like that better, the full strength. Just take a piece of your scrap paper, whatever kind of paper you're using, whether it be the pearlescent or white or Sahara sand, whatever. Just try it both ways and see what you like best. Okay, and then I have, what else should I use? I think I'm going to do these small ones with the Sahara sand. There's 2 small shells. I'm going to use Sahara sand with these. And I'll make this one a little lighter. I have to remember where to match this up. There we go. I have to turn it. Okay. And then I'm going to use the saffron. Well, should I do the saffron or Flirty Flamingo? Any preference? I don't think I want the Melon Mambo. true, Marty. You could die cut in different colors and snip them all apart. That's right. Joyce likes the full strength on the ink. I was thinking I might go back over this Blushing Bride one with some full strength ink. Oops, and that made it pretty wet though. Okay. Flirty Flamingo, somebody said. Joan, thank you. That'll add some brightness to it for sure. And I'm going to, because this is pearlescent paper, the drying time is a little bit longer. So I'm just going to speed up some of that drying time by using my heat tool so that I don't have all the ink colors getting smeared on my final project. It's easy to tell when your ink is dry because it simply no longer looks wet. It doesn't have that wet, glossy look to it anymore. So just sort of be aware of that too, that depending on the paper that you're stamping on, you might want to heat it up. If it's regular cardstock, it should dry instantly. But if it's anything that has any kind of sheen on, you probably want to put some heat on to speed up the drying, or you need to let it sit for quite some time. So now I'm just going to snip away some of these pieces that connect all the shells. And it goes really quickly. The cards I made last week with this, we used the whole big die cut for each card. But for this project, I want to have the separate pieces. And I know some of you are not into fussy cutting, but I hardly call this fussy cutting. And we will use some of this plant life that I'm cutting away as well. But for now, I just really want to get those shells cut apart. Okay, so there's my 5 shells. Toss away some of those scraps. And I want some kind of green in here. So how about, I'm thinking the old olive. And how's this for super simple? And there are lots of ways you can color this. Blending brushes, your blender pens, sponge daubers, all kinds of things. But look at this. You can just set it in your ink, pat it down, I left myself a little spot. I'll let that dry a bit, and I'll do it with some of the rest too. This one I think this one looks a little funky. I'm gonna trim this up a little bit. Out there, fold over my scrap paper, and that. And to make sure you don't get anything else in this, just fold it over, okay? And it'll stay right in place for you. If you want, you can take your heat tool to this again because, like I said, I am using the pearlescent paper, so it takes a little bit longer to dry. You can see the difference in the one that's dry to the one that's wet. Oh, Marty, yes. You are the queen of houseplants, Marty. So I'm not surprised that you saw houseplants in these shapes. Okay, they're getting away from me. Okay, so this is what I have now. These 5 lovely seashells with the on the pearlescent paper. One thing I could have done and should have done probably is put them into my embossing folder before I cut them. The reason I didn't though is I wanted to show you that other way of coloring the plants by just putting them into tapping them into your ink pad. But now I'm going to put my seashells here. Because I want lots of dimension on these. If you saw me flip over these into the ink pad, I could have colored them on either side really, but knowing that I was going to stick them back into the embossing folder, I wanted them basically going the right direction. Okay. And I didn't use quite all of the plant life parts, but that's okay. This one's, and I just close it. Okay. Whoops, that one slipped out. I'm just going to let it go. And then I'm going to run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine with plates numbers 1 and 4 because I'm using a 3D embossing folder. Oh, Cindy, you're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed the hydrangea card. So now I have that added texture from the embossing folder on all these. One of these didn't stay in place for me, but that's all right. So it would be easier to color all the different ones and then stick it in and then cut them apart. But like I said, I wanted to show you that technique for the leaves. Now here's another way to color. I'm going to, a little bit of ink on the inside of my embossing folder here. What I'm going to do now is put my die cut paper into the 3D die, matching up the shapes and images. I just kind of lay in there. And now I'm going to use my die brushes to add some color. These are the new blending brushes. I think I said die brushes. Blending brushes to add some color. I'm going to start, with the Flirty Flamingo. And I like to, when I use the blending brushes, I like to start off onto the scrap paper, just make a swirl motion, and then go over it wherever you like. And the more you add color and the more blending you do, the more intense the color becomes. So you can do real subtle, or you can do a lot more intensity by continuing to add layers of color. And it's just a little bit at a time. Okay. Then, if you, this is colored paper, but it's basically rubbed clean. It uses so little ink at a time, and it's already rubbed clean. So there's the answer to your question, Vicki. Yes, the brushes clean very easily. I use them a lot. As you can see, I've used this one on more than one color, and I've already shown you here that there's no color coming off it, even though I was working with Flirty Flamingo. Now, once in a great while, I might, and I've done this once since I've had it, once in a while, just rinse them in cold water and shake them out, squeeze them out, maybe with a damp cloth. I wouldn't rub them, and then let them dry overnight. That's all I do. So super easy, super easy. Okay, this time I'll use the Seaside Spray. And trust me, with this pearlescent paper, any color looks fabulous. Not just for this die cut in particular or embossing folder in particular, but just gorgeous, gorgeous colors. You just get that lovely shimmer through any of the colors you put on. I think I will do, what is that? Blushing Bride for this shell. And I'll also do it for that other little shell. And then finally, I'm going to use, and like I said too, after colors, just go over them on your scrap paper. You can see there's really, I mean, it just takes a moment. But that way you know whether you use them immediately afterwards, or if you put them away and use them later, they are clean when you start. And I do the same thing with blender pens, aqua painters, that sort of thing. Clean as you go along, and then they're always ready. Ooh, that's pretty with the Sahara sand on there. That's gorgeous. And you can make it more and more intense if you like. Now I want to add some green, and notice that in some of these places, the colors overlapped, blended in a little bit. That's perfectly fine. No seashell or plant life is the same shade of one color. So you don't have to worry about being so particular that, oh, we can't mix the colors, or I got too close with that color, or whatever it may be. Just take it and go with it and have fun with it. Make some darker than others. Isn't that pretty? You could use this on a card as is. I mean, look at that against the white background. It's gorgeous, isn't it? But I'm gonna cut it up. I'm gonna cut it up like I showed you with the first one. And I'll set the first one I'll use on a different project later, but I just wanted to show you, you know, one option of, or I guess I showed you two options of coloring with those. You know, cut the pieces apart and you can stamp directly on them, or cut them apart and tap the pieces into your ink pads. But this one was all about the blending brushes, and I think it's beautiful. Maybe I should make a second one like this to make a pretty card to send one of you, because you're all commenting and sharing, and I appreciate that so much. And it's just, you know, it's just fun working with these products, the way you can interchange the steps or combine steps and leave some steps out, you know, die cutting and then embossing, or embossing only and embossing and stamping, and die cutting and then stamping and then embossing. So it's just fun. And you should give yourself some time to just play with the products and see what kind of speaks to you, I'll say. Get some of those inks out of the way, because that could be disastrous with all those open ink pads. Okay, here we go. So I have my 2 sheets of 12 by 12 designer series paper from the Sand and Sea collection. And then I also cut a 6 by 12 sheet of this one that I think looks to me like sand. So what I'm going to do with this is just, I could cut them apart, but do you remember when we made the Freezin' Fun Friends scrapbook layout and we tore the white paper to make it look like snow? Well, I'm going to tear this to make it look like the sand instead of having a straight line. When I'm tearing paper, I like to tear towards me. I just feel like I have more control that way. And that's that. Now, if you want them to match up, you can do that. You can maybe trim one down a wee bit, something like that, so you don't have quite the gap showing. And you notice, since I was pulling towards me, one is showing the white edge on the top and the other on the back. Here's what I'm gonna do to fix that. I'm going to, now you could just run the edges through your ink pad, but I'm going to use a sponge dauber to do that. You could use a regular stamping sponge as well. Lisa says she was not a fan of the pearlescent paper. Now she thinks she might have to get some. I have to say, when I saw it, I thought, oh, that's really pretty, but I didn't know what I was going to do with it. So I can certainly understand, I can certainly relate to that, Lisa. But the more I've used it, the more I love it. I mean, even just that card. Now picture this maybe with like a floral or leafy die. It would be a whole different kind of card. This almost looks like burnt edges. It's just, I'm using Sahara sand, but I guess I'm going a little heavy. It kind of looks like a burnt edge instead of sand. But I guess that's okay. I guess I don't need to go quite as heavy as I was going. Yes, I will, Susan, I will have to try out some different stamp sets and embossing folders with the pearlescent paper. Somebody remind me of that next week. Joyce is asking, can the opal rounds be colored with Stampin' blends to match the paper? I would say yes. I have, and I don't remember what project I was working on when we did this, but I did color a few. The color, now, and this was a dark Stampin' blend I was using, it seemed to take away some of the sheen. Not so much the shine of the like glitter part, but the sheen on top of it. But yes, you can color these with Stampin' blends. I have not tried the lighter shades, so it may be more effective with some of those lighter shades like the sea. Actually, we should do that because I was thinking about putting some of those. That's where they're out there. Okay, so these are Seaside. So let's just try it, and it would give us, give these a little time to dry. So this is the Seaside Dark. I think the light is going to be too light, because I was thinking these could be used kind of like bubbles. I don't know how well you can see the difference. This is a light color, the Seaside ink. I'm using the dark Stampin' blends, but you can see it's just very, very light that it colors it. But I thought they could make fun bubbles in the water. So let's set this aside and let these dry, and we'll come back to those. So now I will just add my sand to my scrapbook layout. You can see I'm putting my adhesive mainly around the sides and the bottom, just in case I want to tuck a photo or a shell or something behind the sand. Oops. Let's do it this way, and those middles will match up a little bit better. I did pre-cut some pieces of cardstock. I just randomly cut 5x7, 4x6. I've got a 4x4 here. And I've also got three by squares, three 3-inch by 3-inch squares. So I just thought kind of a pretty general layout like that, sort of versatile. But here I'm going to go in and cut out these pretty shells. What's your preference? The stamped shells? I guess they could both work well together, but the stamp shells or the ones where I used the blending brushes. The stamp shells tend to be a more, give a little bit more bold stamping look. And the blending brushes are just a little bit softer look. Anybody have a preference? Shar, thanks for sharing. I so appreciate that. Oh, stamped, really? I was guessing you people would say you like the blended ones. A couple of these. I think I put that one in backwards even. I think we could even combine them. Isn't it amazing too that this is me dipping. I use the very same color ink. This is pressing it into the ink pad, and this is using the blending brushes. So just using a different technique, same supplies, but different technique can give you a different look. And that's why I like to suggest that you play. When I say play with your products, that's what I mean. Really play with them. Try out different ways of using them. It's just fun. Sometimes it's surprising. It turns out differently than you would expect. Sometimes you like it. Once in a while you don't. But I think that's the best way to learn and get a feel for what really strikes you. I think you're right, Lisa. The project you're making, or even who you're making it for, maybe, or the other elements in your project may be what helps you decide which you would like better for that particular project, the stamped or the blended. I've been playing a lot of music down here. Oh, paper dolls. I have forgotten all about paper dolls. My grandma Bayless used to buy paper dolls for me. Wow, that's an old memory, but a good one. Thank you. I'm even thinking we can combine some of these darker greens with the lighter greens, like that. How am I doing? What do you think? I'm not going to use that one. I don't have that lined up well. And this one's off just a little bit, but I can snip it. These were the ones that I probably shouldn't have combined the two coloring techniques for the one piece, but I did. And it didn't turn out quite the way I wanted it to. But that does happen. Okay. Looks good. Oh, McCall's, are they the ones that had them in the magazine? I don't remember the magazine paper dolls. I do remember though that it was almost like heartache if I cut off one of the tiny little tabs, especially if it was at the shoulder, because then the dress didn't stay on the doll so well. It can be hard being a little girl, right? Cutting paper dolls. But I have to say, I loved it. Some of these shells I'll put on dimensionals. Where's the sea plants? I think I will leave with regular glue, the multi-purpose glue. So they'll be more flat against everything with the seashells popping up. Oh, color forms, yes, those plasticky, weren't they like plastic labels? There was a board covered in some kind of plastic and you could peel and stick them. Those were fun too. Boy, what different times. I'm going to tuck this square behind. Remember I said I did not put adhesive at the top of the sand because I might want to tuck something behind it. Oh, I want that one there. Oh, I started saying during the holiday season, I got to, was in the habit of having my music on down here, the Christmas songs playing and everything. And I've been using Alexa a lot lately, but listening to some different things. You know, I can put in, yesterday I put in Josh Groban for a while, or the 80s music and whatever, but obviously I don't have that on right now doing my Facebook Live, and it is so quiet in here, it's a little eerie. I miss talking to you in person when I get a response and look you in the eyes and that sort of thing. Okay, so there's one. Pretty, huh? And let's finish off the second. Now, as you're watching me make these, let's hope I get these spaced well. I'm not going to press them down too hard until I get the squares spaced the way I want them. As I'm creating these, what are you thinking? Are you seeing these as scrapbook pages? Maybe a vacation album? Or if somebody owns a beach house, something to keep at your beach house and people can write notes and memories in. Could you also see them as things you might put in a frame, maybe with 3 grandchildren, or pictures of an ocean view, something like that, or of your family shelling at the beach. Oh, Marty, framed and on the wall. Sounds like you've already picked a place for them. We'll do the same thing. I kind of like the having a couple sort of behind the sand there. And this would be a good place to put a little title or something as well. So I think I'll do that. I did get to go to the beach, Hilton Head, in the summer, kind of an impromptu vacation with my sister's family, and my Andrea and her boyfriend John also were able to go with us. Emily had school, so she couldn't go. But we had a good time, so maybe I need to pull out some photos from that trip and stick them on here. It might make a nice gift too, a nice memory. Stick their photos on. Oh, great idea, Joyce. Pictures of visiting your sister at her Florida home. I feel like this one needs to be down. I don't quite know where I want this one. Maybe over here, like that. Have any of you tried the pearlescent paper before? Using it plain or with some ink? Have any of you tried it? Like I said, I wasn't real sure about it. When I saw it, it looked pretty. I thought it would be pretty in person, but I didn't really didn't know what I had planned to do with it. And it really has just been one of those play and see things for me. And now I feel like, okay, I'm going to have to come up with a project next week that doesn't use it, because I don't want you to get tired of seeing it. But I did want to show you some of the versatility in it. I think it would make beautiful wedding cards too. But then again, I can picture a real simple sympathy card using the pearlescent paper too. I'm not sure if I like that there. Maybe over here. Embossing, Char, you are right. Embossing the pearl paper is just incredible. All right, there you go. What are your thoughts? We have one thing left to do. Does anybody remember who that is? Joyce. That is adding some. I've moved things around in my scrapbook. I worked down here for 7 hours on Saturday, moving furniture and cleaning out. I've still got some piles on the floor that I'm going through, but hopefully next week I will show you, give you a little tour of my newly revised. It's not major changes, but it's opened up the space and it's looking good, and I'm feeling more comfortable and less claustrophobic in it. Oops, I didn't get the, I pushed it off onto the cardboard and the adhesive behind it stuck to the cardboard. So I'm just going to fix this with a glue dot. I'm not sure where I'm going with this. Maybe over here. A little bit of bling is always good, isn't it? Certainly doesn't hurt. I'm just using whatever I colored. I hadn't even counted. There you are. Now let's all go take a vacation and get some group photos that we can add to our scrapbook layout, right? 3, 5, and 7, uneven numbers. You're right, Joyce, and I wasn't counting. There's 5, 1, 2, 3. Oh, I got 4 in there, but we can make it 5. Yes, those even numbers, more pleasing, or uneven numbers, the odd numbers, more pleasing to the eye. This one's a little wet, so it doesn't want to pick up. Come on, little guy. Okay, we're just gonna scoot him off, just like that. Now he wants to stick. Okay. Oh, that could be fun, like have a little pearl in the shell too. The pearls would look, regular pearls would look great on here too. The opal, it just gives you, you know, it kind of picks up some of the color in the project, whereas the pearls are just the true white pearl color, although pearls can also be colored with our Stampin' blends. There you have it. I'm going to end because we're getting close to an hour. It's getting late, but I am going to make a card with some color, like the finished blending one that I showed you right before I cut it up, and one of you will win that card. Any questions I can answer for you? Crystal effects to create bubbles is always a good thing too. Yep. Our fine tip glue works the same way. You just squirt a little out, little dots, and you let them dry overnight, and you get that same crystal effects look. Joyce likes the colored bubbles. Good. Cleaning and organizing. Love, love, love. Oh, you guys make me happy seeing all these wonderful comments, questions, and I love your input. Thank you so much. I wish I could be with you in person to stamp, but this sure is the next best thing. I have really enjoyed doing more Facebook Lives. It started sort of out of necessity. I was doing them once a week, sometimes twice a week before pandemic, but primarily once a week. But when the pandemic started and I had to cancel all in-person events, I decided it was time to up my game and really push myself. And I have to say, I have really come to enjoy doing this many Facebook Lives, and I appreciate your interaction. That's what makes the difference. That's what makes these so enjoyable. I was just talking with a group of demonstrators not too long ago through a Zoom meeting, and many of us said we actually like doing the Facebook Lives more so than just making a video. I shouldn't say just making a video because they are a good amount of work to do. But we like it because we are getting some instant feedback, we're getting some interaction. And you're right, Joan, we would not have met each other long distance. So, you know, there are always things to be grateful for in challenging times. And I truly have been able to grow my business, meet new people, challenge myself to learn some new things about social media and Zoom and all kinds of things. And am feeling really good about where I am and what I'm doing. And really, again, like Joan said, the best part is look how many people we're meeting. That's the silver lining through all of this, is we are getting to know people so well. And I'm always surprised too when people send me messages, you know, maybe it's good news, maybe it's not good news, maybe sad news or something. And our connection started right here. And that is really meaningful to me. And please know that I am grateful for all of that and all of you. So I wish you a happy Wednesday evening. I will be doing my next Facebook Live in my VIP group at 2 p.m. on Friday. So I look forward to sharing another project with you then. Have a great night. Bye-bye.